Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. We were on the couch watching a mindless reality show, the kind that fills air and asks nothing of you. I leaned over to kiss my girlfriend Aaliyah goodnight. I told her I loved her, as I had every night for 2 years. She did not say it back. She picked up the remote, muted the television, and turned to face me with a strange, steady seriousness. My stomach flipped in that small way that tells you the next sentence will rewire your life. This was not going to be about a grocery list or weekend plans. She met my eyes and said, "I like you, Darius. I really do, but I am not in love with you." The words settled between us like a new piece of furniture neither of us had ordered. I am a systems analyst. I spend my days mapping complex processes, locating inefficiencies, and replacing sentiment with logic. My brain is not built for ambiguous emotional riddles. So I treated her sentence like data. She likes me. She is not in love with me. Acknowledged. Okay, I said after a moment. Thanks for the clarification. I stood and went to bed. I could feel her eyes on my back as I left the room, waiting for a scene that never arrived. No questions. No negotiation. No pleading for a promotion I had apparently already lost. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a notification from a group chat on the shared tablet in the living room. I did not look. I knew what was happening. She came into the bedroom later, assuming I was asleep. The mattress dipped under her weight. The small blue light of her phone painted her face. I could hear the measured tap of her thumbs reporting to the committee, her board of directors, for feelings. Her friends would call her brave and mature for speaking her truth, for reimagining our relationship into a clever model that asked almost nothing of her. She believed she had just renegotiated terms. What she had actually done was activate a termination clause. If I was no longer a boyfriend in love, then I was simply a roommate, and I would become the most efficient, logical, emotionally vacant roommate she had ever met. No dramatics, no cruelty, only compliance with the rules she set. The next morning I began what I would later, privately, call the roommate protocol. I woke at my usual time. Often I would kiss her forehead and say good morning. This time I did not. I made a pot of coffee, poured myself 1 mug, filled a thermos to take to work, and left the empty carafe on the counter. The man who made her coffee every day had been in love. The roommate did not. I got dressed and left for the office with a polite, "Have a good day," offered over my shoulder, the same tone I would use for a coworker. No kiss. No soft joke. No unnecessary warmth. She seemed relieved at first, as though a pressure valve had been turned and the room was safer to breathe. She thought this was space. It was also a new system. By midweek, she texted me, "Hey, the girls want to try that new Italian place tonight. Can you book a table for 8? I had always been the planner. Reservations, tickets, travel, all the quiet architecture behind her fun. "Sorry," I replied after finishing a set at the fitness center. "I am busy tonight." "You should call them directly. They book up fast." She sent a single question mark. I did not answer. I was busy in a way that had become newly possible, re-inhabiting hours I had once spent smoothing details for the couple we no longer were. That weekend, I did my laundry. Only mine. I went grocery shopping and bought food for myself. Steaks, chicken, vegetables, lunch staples. No gluten-free bread. No almond milk. Back home, I organized the refrigerator and pantry into unambiguous territories. I meal prepped for the week while Aaliyah entered the kitchen and looked around, puzzled. "Did you go shopping?" she asked. "Yes," I said, slicing chicken. "You did not get any of my stuff," she said, like charge. "Oh, sorry," I replied with mild civility. "I bought what was on my list." I pointed to a printed receipt on the counter. "I can take a picture so you know what your half of the shared items comes to." I covered paper towels and cleaning supplies. Her expression flickered between surprise and offense. In 2 years, I had never asked her to split groceries. But the man who absorbed those costs had been in love. The roommate pays fairly. On Sunday, she appeared in my doorway. "My car has been making that rattling noise again. Could you take a look?" I did not want to get taken advantage of by a mechanic. I swiveled in my chair. "That sounds stressful," I said, warm but neutral. It is smart to get a few quotes before approving any major repairs. Yelp has helpful reviews for shops in the neighborhood. She stared at me, silent, as if waiting for my real self to arrive and offer to spend the afternoon under her hood. That man had a trusted mechanic on speed dial. The roommate had a project plan to finish and a life that no longer required mission-critical support tasks for someone who liked him. She huffed and left the doorway. I was not being cruel. I was being exact. She had defined a relationship. She liked me. Friends like each other. Roommates like each other. I would offer a friend information, not my Sunday and my tools. I would answer a roommate's text, not orchestrate her reservations. The currency of love, acts of service, anticipatory care, unsaid coverage, was no longer in circulation. At the office in downtown Chicago, my code and diagrams felt cleaner. Malik from infrastructure stopped by my desk. "You look focused, Darius." I shrugged. "I started sleeping again," I said. He laughed. At lunch, Renee asked if I wanted to join a run to the food trucks. I declined and ate what I had cooked, realizing how much of my schedule I had outsourced to Hope. Evenings were different. I set up a proper desk in the spare room, finally claiming space I had left undefined. I caught up on technical reading. I lifted at the fitness center with a steadiness I had not felt in months. I listened to jazz and let the quiet be a place instead of a problem. Small provocations began to accumulate. She left dishes in the sink, makeup on the bathroom counter, a trail of clothes from the door to the couch. I did not lecture or clean. I gathered her belongings into a neat stack on her side of the bedroom and wiped down the counter. She played sad songs loudly in the living room. I put on noise-canceling headphones and studied. 2 weeks later, I woke, rolled toward her, and said, "Happy birthday, Aaliyah. I hope you have a good day." Then I started my morning routine. She watched me from the bed, disbelieving. In previous years, there had been elaborate breakfasts, surprise bouquets, a weekend trip to New Orleans where we danced under string lights and pretended the street music was written for us. She came into the kitchen, trying for casual. "Any plans for my birthday?" "Me?" I asked. "Just work and then the fitness center." "Did you have something planned?" She faltered. "I thought we would do something." "I assumed you would celebrate with your close friends," I said. "I can grab a pizza and watch a movie tonight if you want, as a friend." I emphasized the word friend as a simple reflection. Grand gestures belong to lovers. People who like each other have pizza. That evening, she sat on the couch, scrolling through messages that said, "Happy birthday," in varying degrees of enthusiasm. The friends who had encouraged her bravery did not have reservations or confetti. I typed a design document beside her, and the room felt like a library. The finances began to surface like a submerged structure at low tide. I had paid for dates, trips, little attractors that make days gentler, her car insurance, her phone on my family plan. These had felt like part of building a shared life. That life was over. When her phone service stopped, she approached me with panicked eyes. "My phone just turned off," she said. "Oh," I answered. "I removed my card from the family plan since we are not a family unit. You will need to start your own account." She went pale. Her freelance graphic design clients paid sporadically, and the income kept pace with her shopping habits rather than her bills. She had been living in a house built by a man in love. I set up a clear ledger for shared expenses on Splitwise and posted a printed copy on the refrigerator. I labeled shelves in the pantry and refrigerator. I sent a courteous reminder when she missed her portion of utilities. I did not lecture. I did not shame. I documented and proceeded. Systems run better with transparency and an audit trail. She tried anger. "You are being cold," she said one night, standing in the doorway with her arms folded. "You are punishing me." "I am not," I replied. "I am respecting the terms you outlined." She wanted heat from me, even if it burned. I understood the temptation. Familiar fires are still warmth. But a boundary is not a furnace. The next escalation was strategic tenderness. She came home late, smelling of wine, wearing one of my old shirts and nothing else, the way she used to when she wanted closeness to dissolve distance. She sat on the edge of the bed and began to cry. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss us." I put my book down and met her eyes, calm, present. "It sounds like the last month has been very hard," I said. "You have been through a lot of change quickly. Have you considered speaking with a therapist? An impartial perspective can be helpful for sorting feelings." The tears stopped. She stared, as if I had switched languages. She had presented a romantic riddle, and I had offered a clinical solution. It was correct. It was kind, and it contained none of the intimacy she sought. She left the room without another word. I turned my lamp back on and finished my chapter. The silence was not loud anymore. It was work. That weekend, I drove to my mother's place on the south side for Sunday dinner. The apartment smelled like greens and cornbread and the kind of patience you cannot buy. My Aunt Denise was there, telling a story about a choir rehearsal. They asked if I was all right, and I said yes. I did not offer details. It was not about secrecy. It was about conserving energy. I returned with leftovers packed in labeled containers. Aaliyah opened the refrigerator that night and paused. Is that from your mother? Yes, I said. I will be taking it for lunches this week. I did not offer to share. It felt small and strange, like refusing a handshake. But I knew what I could give without misleading either of us. Kindness, yes. Coverage, no. For a day, I let myself remember early things. How we met at a friend's housewarming, her braids catching the light when she laughed. A road trip where we sang along to a song we both loved. Walking by the lake in October. Quiet. Holding coffee cups while the wind turned the water hard. Memory is not a contract. It is a museum. I removed photographs from frames and packed them in an unmarked box. It was not contempt. It was organization. The apartment had become a warehouse of triggers for expectations we no longer shared. I put neutral art in their place, maps and abstract prints, things that did not suggest promises. Her friends started showing up more. Brianna came by one afternoon, polite but measuring. I was working in my office. Hey, Darius, she said, standing in the doorway. Hey, I said. There is tea on the counter if you want any. She sat with Aaliyah in the living room, voices low. Every so often, a syllable lifted like a flare. I kept working. Aaliyah began asking my opinion in ways that also sought leverage. Can you look at my portfolio? I have a potential client. You should book a portfolio review with a design mentor, I said. There are professionals who do that well. I offered a link. I did not offer my evening. The pattern repeated. She asked for a feeling under the guise of a task, and I gave her a resource. One night, she knocked on my office door. Do you hate me? She asked. No, I said. You told me the truth. I believed you. I am adjusting my life to match the truth. I made a mistake, she said. I am sure you feel that, I answered. But I cannot build on maybe. That foundation does not hold weight. She tried generosity next. She cooked a careful dinner and lit candles, a replay of a scene that once meant reconciliation. I made enough for two, she said. Thank you, I replied. I have plans. I met a colleague for a set at a jazz club in Bronzeville, letting trumpet and drums shake loose whatever sadness had started to calcify. I came home to a dim apartment that smelled like rosemary. 2 days later, an envelope from our landlord arrived. The lease was up at the end of next month. I left the renewal on the kitchen counter. I had already signed a lease for a one-bedroom near my office, a place with morning light and a view of a stretch of city that always looks like it is becoming something. I found Aaliyah at the table when I came in from the fitness center, the renewal in front of her like a test. We need to talk about this, she said quietly. Okay, I said, setting my bag down. Are we renewing? She asked. I am not, I said. The color left her face. What do you mean you are not? Where are we going to live? I'm not sure where you're going to live, I said, steady and kind. I signed a lease for a new apartment. I'll move in on the 1st. She stared at me, and I could see the wall she had leaned against crumbling into powder. You are leaving me? She asked, the sentence sounding old-fashioned in her mouth, like it had been stored and pulled out for emergencies. I'm not leaving you, I said. Our living arrangement is ending. We are roommates. The lease is expiring. It is not common for roommates to sign another lease together if one of them is moving out. I found a place that fits my needs. She shook her head, tears building, the narrative trying to rewrite itself while we watched. You are being cruel, she said. You are punishing me. I told you I wanted things to go back. You told me you missed me. I said, calm but unmistakable. You told me you were not in love with me. I believed you. I respected your honesty. You want the man who planned surprises and paid for things and made your life easier. But you want him without the one condition he required, that you were in love with him, too. I let it sit in the air. You wanted a devoted partner who required nothing, I said. That is not a relationship. That is a service provider. And I am no longer in service. For a moment, neither of us moved. The kitchen clock made a small, important sound. Across the room, A package sat on the counter that had been delivered that afternoon. I picked it up and opened the small velvet box. Her eyes filled with a desperate hope, so bright it was hard to look at directly. Even after everything, she was prepared to believe in a last-minute miracle that would save the story. It was not a ring. It was a single key on a plain metal ring. "This is the key to my new apartment," I said. "I'm excited about it. It has a great view." The hope vanished, replaced by a kind of quiet defeat that does not make sound at all. She sank back in her chair and stared at the lease renewal like it was an exam with questions she had not studied for. I left her there, and I went to my office to finish an incident report. The silence in the apartment was no longer a battle. It was absence. The next morning, I created a checklist for the move, divided the furniture fairly, listed who would keep what. I emailed the document to her, printed a copy for the refrigerator, and highlighted the dates. She signed for the couch and the small dining table. I kept the bed and the bookshelves. We agreed to have a charity pick up items neither of us wanted on a Thursday afternoon. She was civil, and I was pleasant. We were two adults executing a closure plan. That, in its way, is also a kind of respect. In the final week, we spoke only when necessary. I boxed my belongings and labeled them by room. I changed my mailing address. I scheduled the internet installation for my new place. She met with a prospective client at the coffee shop around the corner. We crossed paths like residents of neighboring cities. Polite, separate. On the last day, I carried the final box to my car, returned to the apartment, and placed my key on the counter beside the lease renewal she no longer looked at. Aaliyah stood in the kitchen doorway. "Take care of yourself," she said. "You too," I said. There was nothing else to add that would not be a rerun. The new apartment greeted me with empty walls and afternoon light. I opened the window and listened to the city move, sirens in the distance, someone laughing on a sidewalk, a bus sighing at a stop. I set the key ring down, leaned against the counter, and felt the strange, pure relief of stepping out of a system that had been running on exceptions. I have 30 days left on the old lease, then I am free. She got exactly what she said she wanted, a life with a man who was not in love with her. I did exactly what I promised. I followed the rules with precision. Some stories end with noise and wreckage. This one ends with a door closing softly and a view worth waking up for. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.